Second tale I want to tell you is also about academia engaging with things that people really want to believe. This one started, 20 years ago, and it started with the concept of what we call blue zones. And you've heard of these even if you don't know the name. A blue zone is an area in the world where people supposedly live longer. And one of those is Okinawa in Japan, and one of them is Sardinia in Italy, and there's Costa Rica is one, and there's a few others supposedly around the world. And some time ago, somebody's discovered that people in these areas they were reporting longer lifespans. They were centenarians, living past 100. Well, eventually, the idea of blue zones became more and more popular in popular media, popular culture. There was a National Geographic special about them 7 years ago, and people are talking about blue zones all the time. It's about maybe we should eat more blueberries or less meat or exercise more or drink a little bit more red wine or a little bit less white wine or have better genes or breathe better air or take a siesta in the afternoon or something, whatever. All kinds of speculation about how people could not only understand what a blue zone was, but how they could live more like blue zone people to extend their own lives. Pretty cool. Very exciting. Except, just earlier this year, a researcher from University College London, Dr. Saul Newman, published very rigorous, detailed research that demonstrates robustly that the single largest predictor of a blue zone is bad record keeping, as in no birth certificates, as in there's no record that reports what people's actual ages are, so they tend to exaggerate. And pension fraud, because if it's possible, especially if you're in a poor place with not much money, and you can report somebody who's dead still being alive, you get to collect their pension for a little bit longer. So Dr. Newman's work revealed that blue zones, there's no evidence to support their existence. His work was so powerful that it was recognized by one of the greatest academic awards in the world, called the Ig Nobel Prizes. Ig Nobel Prizes are named after, of course, the Nobel Prizes and the word Ignoble, and they are awarded every year. And they are awarded by Nobel laureates and others to research papers that have done something interesting in in a humorous sense during the course of the year. Such as one of the winners this year was a paper that researched the swimming behavior of dead fish. But Dr. Newman's paper also won this year for having really brought something interesting to the attention of the world. So the phenomenon of blue zones and the phenomenon of research that indicates you can change people's behavior just by where they sign on a piece of paper have in common a narrative that kind of makes intuitive sense, and it feels good, and it's interesting, and it's simple. So we tend to fall for these things as humans, perceptual biases. And the villages that are considered to be blue zones certainly have a great deal of incentive to misrepresent ages for not just for pension fraud, but also because by doing so, their villages become famous and they have tourists, and tourists bring money. So there's a lot of incentive to misrepresent. This is another case where we need to be really careful about what we're hearing in the world, even if it's coming from academia, because incentives matter. And if the incentives are aligned towards misbehavior, misbehavior is likely. All right, there's part 2, in which we see that one guy and his accreted acolytes over the course of time have made enormous amounts of money promoting something that has no basis in fact. Part 3 is probably what most of you are interested in, which is how is academic fraud affecting Chinese young people today? And so we'll dive into that now.